So that is about the basic information about the Earth. So these are general information. Some information you may know, some it's new. Anyway, you have to study these information. So the rotation, it takes 24 hours, and for revolution it takes 365 days and 6 hours. So these informations are very important. So you have to study them. And also next we are going to discuss about the what is Earth's true shape. So the Earth is a spherical object with an area of 510 million square kilometers. Though the Earth is considered as a globe, the equatorial diameter is longer by 42 kilometers than the polar diameter. Therefore, it is not considered as a mathematical sphere. So the equatorial diameter is 12,756 kilometers and the polar diameter is 12,740 kilometers. So why we do not consider it as a mathematical sphere? Because the equatorial diameter is longer by 42 kilometers than the polar diameter. So usually in a circle, the diameters are equal, and in here the Earth, it is not considered as a mathematical sphere because the equatorial diameter is longer by 42 kilometers than the polar diameter. So you should remember that it is not a mathematical sphere. So though it considered as a spherical object, it is not a mathematical sphere. Why? Because the equatorial diameter is longer by 42 kilometers than the polar diameter. So you need to remember the true shape of the Earth. And there is another important fact that we need to discuss, the location of the Earth on solar system. So in Unit 1, you have studied that the Earth, our home planet, is the third planet from the Sun. Study the following facts too. So the Earth is the third planet from the Sun. So the average surface temperature on Mercury, located very close to the Sun, is 167 Celsius. Shown the farthest planet from the Sun is minus 200 Celsius. So the temperatures on the Earth is not as higher as on the Mercury and Venus, or not as low as on the Neptune, as it is located in the middle position in the solar system. So in our first unit, we discussed that Earth is located in a habitable zone. So this habitable zone means the temperature is not very high or it is not very low. So the Earth located in the middle, and this middle position is a habitable zone. So that's why we consider Earth as a habitat for living beings. So this is very important that the Earth has an average temperature, and the average surface temperature on Earth is 15 Celsius. So that information is very necessary and you need to study that. So the following factors contribute the Earth to become a habitat for living beings. So the presence of an atmosphere with favorable gases as well as water vapor congenial to living beings. So the atmosphere, for what is an atmosphere?
Yeah, around us.
Yes, atmosphere is around us. Yes, and what else? The composition of the atmosphere?
The ozone layer.
Yes, that's a layers. What is the composition of the atmosphere? There are several gases.
Oxygen, water vapor,
What are the gases
carbon
available in
dioxide,
the atmosphere?
gases.
What are the gases available in the atmosphere? So oxygen, nitrogen, carbon dioxide,
Hydrogen.
yes, you know.
Helium.
Yes, okay. So the atmosphere, there are many favorable gases and as well as the water vapor. So water vapor is congenial to living beings. Have you learned about the water cycle earlier?
Yes, teacher, in geography, 6 period.
Yes, because of that we discuss about the condensation. So condensation happens because of the water vapor. So water vapor rises up and it get condensed, and that's how the clouds form. So that is very important. And even in grade 7, we learn about the convectional rain. In that part also, the water vaporizes up and it forms clouds, and because of that, we get rain. So these concepts are very important. And the existence of water. So what are the uses of water? Why water is necessary?
For drinking?
Yeah. Yes.
For drinking and
cleaning.
sanitary purposes.
Yes. So you can see, yes, these things are which you learned in grade 6. So existence of water, the benefits of water, you know these things. Water required for drinking and other activities, receive water for agricultural activities, and trees rejuvenate after rain, and receive water required by animals. So these things, so we need water because it's a basic requirement. And the prevalence of intermediate temperature. So earlier we discussed in unit 1, the earth is located in the habitable zone and we have intermediate temperature, not too high, not too low. So next, the occurrence of rotation and revolution. So due to rotation, we have day and night, and also we have regional differences in time, and due to revolution we have seasons. So these things we are going to discuss further in this unit. And the existence of gravitational force. So why this the gravitational force is important?
Because otherwise we will float into this space.
Steady on the ground.
Yes. And also we learn in unit 1, due to this gravitational force, the moon orbit around the earth. Why? Because the gravitational force of the earth.
Earth is
Yes.
stronger than the moon.
Yes, okay. So, and also this gravitational force is important to form ocean tides. And we are going to discuss these things later in geography. Because of these things, the gravitational force is important. So, next we are going to discuss about the longitudes and latitudes. So, this part also we discussed in grade 7. So, what are longitudes and what are latitudes? So what do you know about these things? Yes.
Longitudes are the imaginary
horizontal
lines
and longitudes
drawn
are
from
vertical.
north to south.
Imaginary lines have been drawn on the globe. Imaginary set of lines drawn by
Imaginary
Yes.
lines
Okay.
drawn
So you
from
know
a
places on
specific
the earth
why
location.
we use
latitudes
latitudes and longitudes?
horizontal.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Why we need to study these latitudes and longitudes? What are the uses we get from these imaginary lines?
It helps us to
Find
Identify the
find
location of a
countries in
certain
the
place.
globe.
So we can identify place.
To identify the
Grade
correct
7, you
location.
discuss about the
Find the
specific
time.
location. Okay. So, in order to identify a specific location, we need these longitudes and latitudes. By using these longitudes and latitudes, we use these coordinates in order to identify a specific location. So we need latitudes and longitudes. Also, we need these things in order to find the regional time differences. So because of that, these latitudes and longitudes are important. So latitudes and longitudes are a network of imaginary lines has been
Excuse
drawn on
me,
the
teacher.
globe. Yes.
Teacher, I had a
Yes.
problem with my team. Sap, can you tell the place we are right now, teacher? Anything to write also?
Okay. I'm in page 18. Yes. 19. Yes. Page 19.
Do we
Uh,
have anything to write, teacher?
No, I'm going to give you what you have to write in your writing book in a separate PDF, and I'm going to put it into your WhatsApp group. So there's nothing to write. What you have to know is the latitudes and longitudes. A network of imaginary lines has been drawn on the model globe to identify any place located on the Earth. So these lines are named as latitudes and longitudes. So the vertical lines we call it what?
Longitude.
Yes,
Longitudes.
vertical lines are longitudes, and what about the horizontal lines?
Latitudes.
Yes, latitudes. So latitudes are parallel, and longitudes runs from North Pole to South Pole. So next we are going to discuss about the latitudes in more detail. The latitudes, the imaginary lines that separates the north and the southern hemisphere of the geographical globe is the zero latitude known as the equator. So you have already learned these things. So equator divide the earth into two parts, the north hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. So the latitudes that run parallel to the equator in the northern hemisphere up to 90 degrees are identified as north latitudes, and the latitudes that run parallel to the equator up to 90 degrees in south hemisphere are identified as southern latitudes respectively. The circle of latitudes gradually becomes smaller when they are extended up to northern and southern poles. So ultimately it becomes a point in the south and north pole. So as you can see in the picture, so latitudes, the main latitude is the equator, and the equator divide the earth into two parts, the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. So the latitudes located in the northern hemisphere we call it north latitudes, and the latitudes located in the southern hemisphere we call it south latitudes. So next we are going to discuss about the longitudes. So the imaginary line on the geographical globe that extended from the North Pole to South Pole are called longitudes. So the zero longitudes then that run across the city of Greenwich in England is called the Greenwich Meridian. So the longitudes that are located up to 180 degrees east from the Greenwich Meridian are called the eastern longitudes, and those that extend up to 180 degrees west are called the west longitudes. But the longitudes 180 is considered as one, and it is not classified as western or eastern longitudes. So you need to know that the prime meridian is the reference point for longitudes, and it runs across the city of Greenwich, England. And the longitudes that are located up to 180 east from the Greenwich Meridian are called the eastern longitudes, and those that extend up to 180 degree west are called the western longitudes. So these things you need to remember very carefully, because we are going to calculate time. So in order to calculate time, we need to know what are the western longitudes and what are the eastern longitudes. So there is a difference between time in western longitudes and the eastern longitudes. So you need to remember this part, the longitudes. And next we are going to discuss about the rotation of the earth. The movement of the earth around its own axis is called the rotation. The earth rotates from the west to east. So earlier we discussed that earth rotates from the west to east. So there are two planets that rotate from east to west. What are these two planets?
Venus and Uranus.
Yes, Venus and Uranus. Yes, okay. So normally the earth rotates from west to east. So on this imaginary axis that run from the north pole to south pole, the earth axis tilts at an angle of 23.5 to the orbital plane. Due to the rotation of the earth, we see as if the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. The earth takes 23 hours and 56 minutes for a complete rotation around its axis, but the duration of a day of the earth is considered as 24 hours. So that you need to know. The earth rotates from west to east, and the imaginary axis that runs from north pole to south pole, and the earth axis tilt at an angle of 23.5 to the orbital plane, and the duration of the rotation is 23 hours and 56 minutes. So we consider as 24 hours a duration of a day. So what is the meaning of rotation of the earth?
The movement of the earth around its own axis.
So that you need to remember. So the rotation means the movement of the earth around its own axis is called rotation. So next, the rotation of the earth in the occurrence of day and night and the regional differences in time. So due to rotation, we have the occurrence of day and night. So we have day and night due to rotation, and the regional differences in time because of rotation of the earth. So occurrence of day and night. So So we live in a round planet, so you can't have sunlight every part of the planet of the same time. So the rotation of the earth results in the occurrence of day and night and the regional differences in time. So while rotating, the half of the earth that receives the sunlight has daytime and the other side that does not get sunlight has night time. So the solar energy reaching different part of our planets not constant, and parts of the earth lean towards the sun, other part of the it leans away. So that you need to know. Because of that we have occurrence of day and night. And next we are going to discuss about the regional time differences. So according to the location of the longitude, the time too differ in different places in the world. Observe figure 2.5 to understand how time change in the world. When the time is 12 noon on a longitude, the sun is overheaded. The time is 12 midnight on its opposite longitude. So when the time is 12 noon on a longitude, the sun is overheaded. The time is 12 midnight on its opposite longitudes. So the sun rises early in the countries located in the eastern part of the world as a result of the rotation of the earth from the west to the east. And the sun rises relatively late in western countries. This thing you need to remember. So the countries located in the eastern part, sun rises early in these countries. And the countries located in the western hemisphere, the sun rises relatively late. So as you can see in the picture, so Texas is a country located in the western hemisphere. So the sun rises relatively late in the western countries, and Bangladesh is located in the eastern hemisphere. So they experience the sun early than compared to Texas. So the sun rises in the east and sets in the west every day. But why does this happen? The earth is spinning on its axis. Because of that we have sun rises in the east and set in the west every day. So there is another part. When the earth rotates around its axis once, it moves 360 degrees during 24 hours. So within 1 hour, it moves 15 of longitudes and requires 4 minutes to travel within 2 longitudes. Hence, the time between 2 longitudes differ by 4 minutes. Hence, there are time differences in different places on Earth according to the change of latitude. So, what you have to remember is 360 degrees equal to 24 hours. So, this 360 degrees forms, there are 180 degrees which is located in the eastern hemisphere, and there are 180 degrees which is located in the eastern hemisphere. So the western hemisphere and the eastern hemisphere, there are 180 degrees. So all together it forms 360 degrees. Or we can say the meridians are drawn between two poles. They divide the earth into 360 equal segments. So we have 360 degrees. So it takes 24 hours to complete one rotation. So it means 15 longitudes for 1 hour, and 1 degree, it will take 4 minutes.